morning, everyone. It is the 63rd Annual General Meeting online video conference. It's Friday, February the 18th, 2022. And so now I'd like to call to order. May I please ask everyone to please mute yourselves? I know this it's a little bit easier. I'm hearing feedback and I'm hearing background noise. And I know it's not here because my doors are closed. Thank you very much, everyone. So Grant Bevo, can you please let us know, can we do the roll call, please?
I will begin the roll call, beginning with Member Beatty. I believe the screen with nobody in it is Member Beatty, but we'll come back to him. Member Brady.
I'm here.
I have regrets from Member Clark. Member Cridland.
Present.
Member Fior.
Good morning.
Member Foster.
Good morning.
Member Halinga.
Present.
Member Houston.
Present.
Member Ingrao.
Here.
Member Kwal.
Present.
Member McKenzie.
Present.
Member Metcalf. Member Rapley.
I'm here.
Member Shurton.
Present.
Member Smith. Member Steele.
Here.
Member Woodhouse. Member Wright.
Present.
Quorum is 10 of 19, and we have 13 members in attendance. Member Beatty, is that you? I see him there.
Live in living color.
There we go. I also see that we have a guest.
Yep.
Would be Mr. Tripp from the region.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, and welcome to the CIO Ron Tripp from the Niagara region. We have received regrets from both the CIO Manley from Haldeman and CIO Jeanette Smith from Hamilton. They both said they'd love to be here, but unfortunately, other things have come up. We also have regrets from the foundation president or chair, Tom Insigna. So thank you everyone for coming today. Just to do the land acknowledgement, the Niagara Peninsula watershed is situated on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Antiwandaronk Neutral and the Anishinabeg, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties number 3, 4, and 381, and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, the watershed is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Through the 2021 and 2031 strategic plan, we reconfirm our commitment to shared stewardship of natural resources and deep appreciation of Indigenous culture and history in the watershed. So again, welcome to everyone, including our guests. Just to let you know, my regular laptop was not working with me this morning. I'm on my little iPad, so if I don't see you waving, please forgive me. I'm going to rely on our clerk to let me know if anyone needs to speak. So first of all, I'd like to Member Brady, seconded by Member Chair, that we approve the agenda for the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority's 63rd Annual General Meeting held on February 18, 2022 be approved. It's actually yes, thank you. So is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, thank you. And we're moving on to declarations of conflict of interest. Do I see any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, thank you. And also it has been moved by Member Fior, seconded by Member Foster, that we receive the 62nd Annual General Meeting minutes. And this was held on June the 18th, 2021. Is there any in discussion, any questions, or anybody in opposition? No, thank you. So now we're on to presentations. We're really fortunate today that we have, sorry folks, because my laptop wasn't working today. I have to go in and find my notes. Sorry. So you know what? I'm going to do a shift here, and I'm going to call on our CAO of Chandra Sharma. We have NPCA Employee Service Awards presentation. Folks, this is the first time we have ever done this in an annual general meeting. This is always done quietly on the side. But given the fact that we've been spending this last few months introducing staff to the board, I think it's really important that we also acknowledge their service, years of service. So CAO Chandra, I deeply apologize, but I cannot pull up my notes on my laptop, so I'm going to rely on you, please, to carry on with the presentation. Technical difficulties, isn't this fun? Granted.
Chair
Grant.
Johnson,
Yes.
Chandra was muted.
Yes, I'm not muted anymore. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to just switch the order while staff send me the text that was the notes that were sent to Member Johnson for staff recognition. I'll wait for Grant and Misty to send that over. In the meantime, I just want to go to item 2, Madam Chair, if I have your permission to display our year in review video.
You know what? That would be probably perfect. And maybe in the meantime, I can find the notes and we'll figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that will start the meeting on a very energetic, good note. Good morning, everyone, to our 63rd annual. On behalf of NPCA, very professional and committed staff team, I'm pleased to present a snapshot of our 2021 year in review. 2021 was about living through challenges as we have done in the past few years and doing things differently. It was also a year that NPCA charted the course for future through the launch of our strategic plan while maintaining a strong focus on day-to-day work. This year was also about measures and metrics, accounting for the good work we do as an organization and impact we have on our watershed and communities. What did we do in 2021? We launched a staff-led 10-year strategic plan. We planted more than 63,000 trees. We welcomed 90,000 guests to our flagship parks, taught more than 2,500 future leaders or conservationists, partnered with more than 80 organizations, and reviewed more than 1,000 planning files. These are just a very brief highlight of what we did on a day-to-day basis this past year. Thank you for helping us protect and sustain the healthy watersheds, for being part of this incredible community. I'm excited to showcase the conservation leadership of NPCA team, invite you to share in our accomplishments and lay the groundwork for future. This video is just a teaser for the annual report that is just about to be released in a few months. Here is a look back at 2021. In line with our with new strategic plan. Thank you. Madam Chair, over to you.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for your patience. All my, I believe everything, and knocking on wood, is coming up properly now. So now we're on to the NPCA Employee Service Awards presentation, and just as I said before, we've been taking time before every meeting to introduce to you some of the departments and the people that are involved in it. It's just really meeting the face to the name. We're going to carry that theme through on the annual general meeting to recognize years of service for those who've met their milestones. So every year, the NPCA recognizes key service milestone anniversaries of staff with a passionate and committed team. These 2021 years of service highlight our staff's careers that have been dedicated to conservation in the Niagara Peninsula watershed. Each staff member is provided with a certificate of appreciation and additionally receives an NPCA gift to thank them for their contributions over the years. Many of the staff have further demonstrated their love of not only our environment, but our community, and have chosen to forego the gift in lieu of a donation to the local charitable organization. So we're going to start off with celebrating 5 years of service in 2021. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with this gentleman. It is Adam Christie, and if Adam's with us, can you put your video on for us, please, sir? There you are, and everyone else, please mute. Adam is the NPCA Director of Land Operations, overseeing the management of our conservation areas. Prior to this role, he worked as the Manager of Strategic Initiatives. So Adam, congratulations on your 5 years, and thanks for hanging in there with us.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
And now we're on to, thank you, and Stuart McPherson. Stuart is a restoration specialist. In this role, he manages and implements restoration projects across our watershed, oftentimes working in partnership with various community agencies. Where are you, Stuart? There you are. Give us a wave. Thank you very much, Stuart, for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. And now we're on to, and I think we're all familiar with Alicia Powell is our Manager of Conservation Area Services, where she manages overall customer experience and events at the NPCA. Prior to this role, Alicia worked with us as a summer student supporting our Bimbrook Conservation Area and an assistant superintendent at Bimbrook, a program assistant and supervisor of learning and learning. So where are you, Alicia? There you are. This is really funny just seeing you wave because your enthusiasm and bubbliness just seems to resonate with the rest of us. Thank you so much for your service. And then we have Gina Shale. So Gina is one of our administrative assistants. She's the one that's responsible for getting us online, by the way. This is really somebody that's direct involvement with us at the NPCA. I'm sorry, Gina, if I didn't say your last name properly. She's always willing to help and works to ensure our teams have the support they need to be as efficient and effective as possible. And anybody who has an assistant knows that true. There's the power right there. Thank you, Gina, for your 5 years.
Thank you.
And then we have Catherine Ursini. As a conservation area service representative, Catherine is our front line to our conservation area customers. She coordinates our Balls Falls weddings, organizes our Thanksgiving festival vendors and provides outstanding customer service to all our guests. Where are you, Catherine? I saw you earlier. There you are. And if anybody meets Catherine at the front gates at the Balls Falls Festival, you can agree that we really are benefit having Catherine here for 5 years with us and hope you stay on longer. And now we're on to 10 years of service. So we have Mariah. I'm so sorry, folks. I'm horrible at this. Tempest, who is an assistant superintendent at Balls Falls and has previously supported Bimbrook and Chippewa Creek as an assistant superintendent and laborer. So where are you? Where's your wave? Probably I didn't say her name properly, so she
Mariah, where are you, Mariah? Say hello to the board.
Well, that's why she's come out here for 10 years. She's been able to do her work and not worry about all the other stuff. So now we're on to 15 years. We have Carrie Royer. I've worked really closely with Carrie this past couple of years. Carrie is our community outreach and volunteer coordinator, using her love for and knowledge of the NPCA to engage individuals and partners in the conservation efforts. She has additionally held the positions of water resources assistant, species at risk, land stewardship technician, natural areas inventory assistant, restoration program assistant, restoration program lead, stewardship program assistant, and community liaison coordinator. Wow, Carrie, there you are. And it's been a pleasure working with you, Carrie, with the PAC group. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. 15 years, that's a lot. Good for you.
Thank you, Chair. And I did see Mariah pop on for a second there.
Oh, is she still here? Where are you, Mariah?
I saw her.
Well, we'll just text her. Oh, there you are. My apologies for saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry. You can call me whatever you want.
Maybe not.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have 20 years of service. Josh Diamond. Josh's dedication to the NPCA for 20 years has been supporting and leading our water quality team as a water quality specialist, where he designs and delivers the NPCA water quality monitoring program. Where are you, Josh? Josh, congratulations. Is there anything you want to say? Anybody who hangs in here for 20 years is allowed to say something.
I don't really have much to say. It went by fast, too fast, and it's been a privilege working at the NPCA. It's been a great team of people over the years, and I've really appreciated working for Niagara and the residents of our watersheds. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So, folks, we're now wrapping up our presentations, and we're doing the conclusion of 2021 business. So, before I go into saying goodbye to all of you, I would like to first turn the chair over to our Vice Chair, Bruce McKenzie. So due to the pandemic, my schedule seemed to have doubled with the help of WebEx, Teams, and Zoom meetings. I don't have to physically move to get to 6 meetings in 4 hours. All I have to do is click buttons on and off. So thankfully, our Vice Chair, Bruce McKenzie, has been our ambassador, especially with the Ontario, Conservation Ontario meetings in my place. So thank you, Bruce, and I really want to give you a couple of minutes to also say a few words before we wrap up 2021.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I first would like to thank my fellow board members for putting me in the position of Vice Chair for the NPCA for the last 2 years. I will not forget your trust. It has and continues to be an absolute delight working with you. And I would like to thank you for sharing your vision and wisdom with myself and the board and the community. I've been thrilled to work with professionals such as your chair, Chair Johnson, Chandra, and members of the staff team. Grant, I would like to thank you for the humor that you've brought to our meeting behind the scenes. I have only one regret, one that I think we all share, and that is working under the shadow of COVID. I was not able to meet with yourselves and staff as much as I would have liked, but we are here today, and our potential for tomorrow is even greater. In your agenda package today, there's a letter from Conservation Ontario to the Ontario Minister of Finance. One sentence sums it up for me. We need to reimagine the value of nature. And along that thought, I am reminded that the province of Ontario will soon be appointing a representative from the agricultural community to sit on the board with us. This is good. We will welcome another voice from agriculture, as we have done so with our own public advisory board. But we must remember the province did not select to appoint a representative from the mental health community, the medical community, the educational community, or the social fabric community to sit with us. Our need to speak for these communities has never been greater. We all need to reimagine the value of nature to the health and well-being of our society. Thank you, Chair Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And again, your support has been absolutely invaluable to me. So my final remarks now before I turn the chair over at the very end. I'd like to reflect on my final term as the chair of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. I applaud the incredible achievements and dedication of each of the board members, our CAO, Chandra Sharma, and as you've heard before, we have a lot of hardworking staff. Every one of them is so dedicated to the NPCA. Our wonderful volunteers, partners, and the entire watershed community. Despite the ongoing pandemic, the Board of Directors remains committed to ensuring the safe and successful delivery of NPCA programs and services that are essential to those we serve. Last year, we approved many restoration projects and a variety of capital projects. To address the increased demand for green spaces, we have explored improvements to our passive conservation areas while securing many valuable memorandums of understanding. We also engaged local and regional stakeholders to support the $2 billion trees initiative and help to establish new policies to ensure appropriate stewardship of the NPCA financial assets. The NPCA also embarked on significant consultative process to engage the entire watershed community in the development of a new strategic plan. The Board of Directors was honored to oversee this staff-led project and provide guidance through the Strategic Planning Committee. The result is an ambitious strategic plan that reaffirms our vision of nature for all and mission to create a common ground for conservation action and accountability to nature. We are committed through our new strategic plan to implement actions that support truth and reconciliation, with Indigenous peoples, and we will continue to proactively seek their diverse perspectives on land management and shared stewardship. This strategic plan promises to be a critical milestone in the transformation of the NPCA, and I commend the enthusiasm and professionalism of staff in driving the process and setting the bar high. I want to conclude by thanking both the public and my colleagues for their support and their confidence in me to serve as chair for 2 consecutive terms. It's really been an honor. I'm so grateful to everyone who helped us to achieve so many successes in both 2020 and 2021. I look forward to seeing the NPCA continue this strong path towards a great future. So thank you very much, everyone. That's the last speech you're going to hear from me. So having said that, it's been moved by Member Houston, second by Member Halinga, that the Board of Directors conclude the business of 2021, and further that the chair and vice chair seats be declared vacant. Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, thank you. Turning the chair over to our CAO, Chandra Sharma.
Thank you, Chair Johnson, and good morning again. Welcome to our 63rd Annual General Meeting. Before I start the election process, I would like to take a minute to extend my sincere thanks to the leadership of our outgoing Chair, Brenda Johnson, and Vice Chair, Bruce McKenzie. In the past few years, NPCA has made tremendous progress as an organization, and this transformation wouldn't have been possible without your leadership style and support of our board. You stood behind NPCA professionals and experienced team. You listened to the community and made yourself available to provide direction when needed. Because of your hard work and your trust and the support of our board, we have turned the page and regained our ground as a conservation leader in such a short amount of time. So I applaud your leadership and thank you to you and Member Mackenzie. And I'm looking forward to our next chair and continuing our good work. Before I go on to the election process, I would like to ask our clerk to do a roll call again, because I see some new members have joined, and also go through some of the procedures, because we have some changes as a result of Conservation Authority Act updates. And there are some new rules for rotation of chair and vice chair. So over to Grant.
Morning again, everyone. Roll call beginning with Member Beatty. Being there, Member Beatty, you're here. I see Member Brady.
I'm here.
We have regrets. Member Cridlin.
I'm here.
Member Fior.
Present.
Member Foster.
Present.
Member Halinga.
Present.
Member Houston.
Present.
Member Johnson.
Present.
Member Graham. Member Graham. See him there. We'll come back to him. Member Kwal.
Present.
Member Mackenzie.
Present.
Member Metcalf.
Present. 8.
Thank you. Member Rapley.
Present.
Member Shorten.
Still present.
Grant, can you please wait for a minute? Can I request board members to please mute yourself, because we're hearing a lot of feedback. Thank you. Go ahead.
Member Smith. Member Steele.
Here.
Member Woodhouse.
Present.
And Member Wright.
Present.
Madam Chair.
Here.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if I may continue.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Just a few little housekeeping issues before we launch into the voting. I'm going to ask any staff members who are not further involved in the meeting, as in if they don't have any items further on in the agenda, to now log off. You can still watch via the link. And Gina, as this is going on, I'm going to ask that you move the remaining staff members and any observers into the lobby. I do want to note that the voting process will occur live on screen as we are doing this, and it will be broadcast. However, individual votes will remain anonymous. So with that being said, Gina, if you can begin moving members not involved in the voting process into the lobby, I'll continue on with the preamble. In the absence of in-person meetings, any voting for the positions of chair and or vice chair will be conducted via the WebEx polling function. Any members of staff or attendees not otherwise involved in the voting process will be placed in the meeting lobby. The election will be conducted as follows. Only current members of the authority may vote. Haldeman and Niagara members are eligible for chair. Haldeman and Hamilton members are eligible for vice chair. Nominations will be called 3 times and will only require a mover. The closing of nominations will require both a mover and a seconder. Each board member nominated will be asked if he or she will accept the nomination. The board member must be present to accept the nomination. In the event of an election, each nominee will be permitted not more than 3 minutes to speak for the office in the order of the alphabetical listings of his or her surname. A majority vote will be required for election. If there are more than 2 nominees and upon the first vote, no nominee receives the majority required for election, the name of the person with the least number of votes will be removed from further consideration for office. In the case of a vote where no nominee receives the majority required for an election, and where 2 or more nominees are tied with the least number of votes, a special vote shall be taken to decide which one of the tied nominees shall be dropped from the list of names to be voted on. Should there be a tie vote between the two remaining candidates, a second vote will be held. Should there be a tie after the second ballot, a third vote shall be held. Should there be a tie after the third vote, the election of office shall be decided by a lot drawn by the CAO. Chandra, we need a motion, mover and seconder, to appoint scrutineers.
Thank you. Thank you, Grant. Appreciate your efforts here. So can I get a mover and seconder to appoint Natalie Green and Grant Bywall as the scrutineers should an election be required? Member Hewson and Member Johnson. Moved by Member Hewson, seconded by Member Johnson. Thank you. I will now start the process of calling for nomination for board chair. So at this point, I would like to call for the nomination of NPCA board chair for the first time. As per our bylaw, we will only need a mover for this purpose. So can I ask for nominations for the board chair? Member Steele.
Thank you, Chandra. I would like to nominate Member Foster.
Thank you. Member Foster, would you accept this nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. I just noticed, Clerk, that Member Smith has joined. Who was not. Okay, thank you. So with that, I would like to ask for any other nomination. Are there any other nominations? I see none. Grant, I'm asking again, are there any other nominations for the third time? No. So can I get a mover and seconder to close the nomination for NPCA board chair position? Member Steele, Member Johnson seconded it. Thank you. So in this case, because we only had one nomination, we will not have any voting required. Congratulations, Member Foster. We will give you an opportunity to say a few words at the end after we've passed the motion. Thank you. With that, I will now open up nominations for the position of vice chair. Can I have a nomination for the vice chair? Member Hewson.
Thank you, Chandra. I'd like to move to nominate Member Metcalf to the vice chair position.
Thank you, Member Hewson. Member Metcalf, would you accept the vice chair position?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the vice chair position? No, seeing none, I will ask again the third time. Are there any nominations for the vice chair position? None. Thank you. So we have a motion to nominate the chair and vice chairs. First, I would like to close the nomination process for the vice chair. Can I get a mover and seconder? Member Foster and Member Beatty. Member Foster moved it, Member Beatty seconded it. So I will now move the motions. You've made my job so easy as a guest the first year today. Thank you.
Madam CAO, can we
Yes.
just, Gina, a moment to bring the people back in from the lobby so that they can hear the formal announcement and formal appointment?
Absolutely. Thank you. I'll wait a few minutes.
I'm working on it.
Thank you. Really pleased to have these two motions before you. The first motion is that Member Rob Foster be appointed as the Chair of the Board of Directors of Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority for the year 2022. Can I have a mover and seconder? Member Sherton, Member Hewson. So Member Sherton moved it, Member Hewson seconded it. Congratulations, Chair Foster. Let me just have the second motion and then I'll give the floor over to you. The second motion ahead of us here is the appointment of Vice Chair, that Member John Metcalf be appointed as the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority for the year 2022. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Member Steele, and seconded by Member Halinga. Thank you, Member Wright. I saw your hand, but Member Halinga was first. So I accepted that. So now we have our chair and vice chair in place. And with that, I will hand over the floor to Member Foster to run the rest of the meeting and say a few words to the board. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chandra, and thank you very much to the board. A big responsibility. We got an awful lot of work to do this year, and I will say a few things once we go through some of the paperwork here that we have to finish off. So, first of all, we have to do an appointment to Conservation Ontario for 2022. And so the motion that will be there is that Rob Foster, Chair of NPCA for 2022, or John Metcalf, acting as his or her designate, be appointed the authority's voting delegate to Conservation Ontario. And further, that the Chief Administrative Officer be the alternate delegate. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Member McKenzie, seconded by Member Wright. Is anybody opposed to this motion being passed? Next, we have appointments to the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation. First of all, Donna, of course, has been our person there for the past year. Donna, are you willing to stand within this again?
Yes, thank you, Chair Foster.
Good. Is there anyone else would like to be a member of our foundation? Thank you, Councillor Member Hewson. I did have a discussion with Member Hewson yesterday, and she had expressed an interest in this. Is there anyone else that's interested in being on the foundation? Seeing none, our two appointments will be then Member Cridlin and Member Hewson be appointed to the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation for 2022. So can I have a motion to accept that? A Member Fior, and seconded by Member Steele. Is there anyone against us making those appointments? And by the way, I will be continuing on with the foundation as ex officio because of the nature and the role of the chair. And I must say, I've been very much enjoying being part of the foundation, and Tom Ensena has been doing an incredibly good job as the chair of that organization, and he's doing well for us from an NPCA point of view. Next is the appointment to the Finance Committee. So the following members be appointed to the Finance Committee: Stu Beattie, Bruce McKenzie, Rick Brady, Brenda Johnson. So are there any other members who are interested in being on this committee?
I will, Mr. Chairman. I'm on a cell phone, so it's Mel Woodhouse.
Yeah, Member Woodhouse?
Yes.
We will add your name to the list. Is there anyone else would like to be on the Finance Committee? I do not see anybody else wishing to be on the Finance Committee. So with that, We need a motion to accept appointment to the Finance Committee. So can I have Member Beatty move that, and seconded by Member Johnson? Or is there anyone opposed to this as our Finance Committee? Seeing none, let's move on to the Governance Committee. Governance Committee, appointment Member McKenzie, Member Brady, Member Johnson, Member Ingrao. Your name is not here, but I know you and I had a discussion and you're interested in being on that committee again?
I am.
Yep, good. Is there anyone else that's interested in being on the Governance Committee?
Mel Woodhouse, Mr. Chairman, I would as well.
Okay, thank you. And Member Woodhouse
Yep.
as well. Yep. Anyone else interested in the Governance Committee? By the way, it's the most exciting committee on the NPCA. So we do have a slate. So can I have Member Hewson move that we accept this slate for the Governance Committee? And can I get Member Cridland to second that, please? Is there anyone opposed to this? Seeing none, let us move on to, again, some more paperwork. So I need a motion that the authorities chair, Rob Foster, the vice chair, John Metcalf, the chief administrative officer, secretary treasurer, Chandra Sharma, and the director of corporate services, Lise Gagnon, or any two of them are hereby authorized to sign, make, draw, accept, endorse, and deliver checks, promissory notes, bills of exchange, orders for the payment of money, and such agreements and instruments as may be necessary or useful in connection with the operation of the said account. And further, that any of the above mentioned officers is hereby authorized for and in the name of the organization to endorse and transfer to the bank for deposit or discount with or collection by the bank or for the credit of the organization only, checks, promissory notes, bills of exchange, orders for the payment of money, and other instruments to arrange, settle, balance, and certify all books and accounts with the bank and to sign receipts for vouchers. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Mr. Shurton, would you move that, please? Ken, would you second that, Member Kwal? Thank you. Is there anyone opposed to that? That is carried. So thank you very much. We got the official part of the meeting out of the way. I'm just going to say a few things before we get into the rest of the meeting. And first and foremost, I want to reiterate what others have said. I want to thank Chair Johnson and Vice Chair McKenzie for the incredible work that they've done over the last 2 years. Truth be told, if it weren't for the CA changes that have come into place, I would be solidly behind having Member Johnson as the chair again for another year. But unfortunately, the way the CA Act is written now, we must shift and make changes within it. There's a few other people I just want to mention as it's going on, and I'm going to hearken back to our former CAO, Gail Wood. I just want to call her out as well. She went to the foundation. She's stepped away from that as of the end of last year for a variety of reasons, but I just want to mention Gail. And I also want to mention the chair of the foundation, Tom and Sinna, for both of them for the incredible work that they have done in that area. There's many others on the foundation as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the meeting. This is a really interesting position for me. I married into the NPCA, and you're all going to say, what the heck does he mean by that? My wife's family has been huge involved with the NPCA since its very inception. My children's great grandfather was the first superintendent at Long Beach. Mr. Harry was certainly was a person to be reckoned with within the NPCA at the beginning. Gord Harry, former mayor of Waynfleet, was the NPCA chair, as well as one of their senior staff for quite a number of years. Unfortunately, Gord passed away far too early. But reality is that he had a huge influence on this organization. My son has been a regular as a volunteer at Balls Falls over many, many years. Has received numerous awards from Balls Falls for the work that he has done there. He and Doug Ransom, one of the former chairs, are pretty good buddies as this has gone on. And I also want to mention that my wife actually put herself through school working for the NPCA years ago. So this is a family affair. Oh, and by the way, Mariah, who you recognized earlier, is through marriage related to me as well. So there's a staff member that still has that hairy name in the background that's going on. I'm very, very proud of the work that Mariah has been doing and within the organization. So going into year 4, which is what we're going into now of this mandate, I just wanted to talk just about a couple of things. Year 1 was deconstruction and stabilization for all of us, and we all lived that particular stage. Year 2, we did our review. We came to understand the organization, and we started the process to organize ourselves for the future. Year 3, terrific work on a strategic plan, and this is aiming us for the future. And also all of these provincial changes that have been coming at us. So trying to figure out how they work and syncing that into what it is that we're doing, both from a governance point of view as well as how we do our business. So year 4, this is going to be an interesting year. So first of all, it's going to be full implementation of our strategic plan, having our work plan set so that we're going to meet what it is that we have said we're going to do. There's a number of items around governance that are going to have to be dealt with. And very early into this year, I will be setting a meeting with the politicians in Hamilton, Haldimand, and Niagara, and the CAOs as well, to talk about what our new NPCA is going to look like. Hopefully they will come up with some answers on that, and we'll be able to chart the course going into 2023. And just a thought or just a comment is that my goal is to continue what it is that we have been doing as the chair, and making sure that the NPCA is the preeminent environmental organization in Niagara. I think this is an important part of what we're doing, and I look forward to working with all of us to get us to the next stage, so to speak. With that, let us move on to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. So we have the minutes of the full authority meeting dated December 17th, 2021 for approval. So with that, Member Kwal, can I get you to move that motion? And Member Fior, could you please second that? Are there any questions or changes that are required within those minutes? Seeing none, is there anyone opposed to us accepting these minutes? Let us move on to the next item, which is the minutes of the closed session meeting dated December the 17th, 2021. And they are private and confidential. So can I get Member Metcalf to move that we accept those? And Member Smith, would you second that, please? Is there anyone opposed to us accepting those? There's none opposed. We have multiple items under correspondence. What I would like to do is I would like to move and second these as a block. And then if there's any questions to any specific item, please bring it up. So can I have Member Johnson move that we accept the correspondence as a block? And can I have Member Cridland second that? So with that, so any discussions on any of these items within this? There's quite a lot of information that's here. So Member Kwal, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask some clarification questions with respect to item number C, the correspondence received from Ms. Manson. And my questions of clarification, I think, are really for the CAO.
Yep.
Am I correct that the NPCA's current policy document mentioned in Ms. Manson's correspondence was approved by the Full Authority Board on September 2018?
Go
Through
ahead.
you,
Yep.
through you, Chair Foster. I wasn't here. It is my understanding that yes, it was, and I will ask David Deluze, who was an integral part of the team working on it. David?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that document was approved by the previous Board of Directors in September 2018.
Okay, thank you. So you've answered my second question. That was the previous board. I'd like a little further clarification about that document itself. Do we know what changes were made from the prior version? And were those changes ever presented to this board?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
The changes that were made between the 2018 document and the 2011 document, that was the previous version, no, they've not been highlighted to this board. The report that was presented to the previous board, I think just gave a high-level overview of the various changes that were made to the document. So there were some changes. For example, one of the significant changes, the 2011 document had a policy about, we call it the existing lot of record policy. It was you could have one house in a PSW if the zoning of the property met was such that you could build on it. There were a few municipalities that had zonings that hadn't caught up to wetland mapping. So that policy was removed as part of the 2018 document. There were a number of other smaller sort of clarification changes, and essentially the document was kind of a reorganization of the 2011 document. So sections were combined into each other. Previously, the 2011 document split out planning sections from permit sections. Those were kind of combined into the 2018 document. So that's something that if the board wishes, we could provide a report to that. That probably would be better than me trying to rhyme off changes that I haven't looked at in a while.
Yeah, thank you. So I wasn't inquiring about the actual changes, but I'm going to suggest you may want to consider including that information in the policy review that you're bringing forward. So the next question, it's my understanding that on September 27, 2018, that's about a week after this policy document was issued, the Auditor General issued her special report on the NPCA. Is that timing correct?
David, you were here. Can you please respond to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I forget exactly the date when the Auditor General's report was released, but it was sometime in fall of 2018, either early October or late September. Again, I don't recall the exact date.
Okay, thank you. So one of her recommendations was that the board finalize as soon as possible its policies for reviewing development proposals and work permit applications. So has this board ever reviewed the contents of that 2018 policy document as recommended by the Auditor General?
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, in terms of this policy document as itself, no, but this document has undergone what we've termed housekeeping amendments. There were two of them. One was in 2019. That was, trying to recall, we had brought, initially it was an amendment for the septic systems within wetland buffers, the 30-meter buffers. There were a couple of other administrative changes as part of that. I apologize, I don't recall exactly, but they were minor in nature. So those got approved, but the The buffer policy got deferred to have further public consultation. And then in 2020, there was an approval to remove reference in the policy document for a variance process. Some board members may recall that initially we were contemplating having some form of a variance process within the document. That section was removed. So, but again, in terms of the document as a whole, it's not been presented to this board.
Okay, thank you. So am I correct that 2 years later, in December 2020, the Auditor General provided her follow-up report on the NPCA?
That's correct, through you, Chair Foster.
Okay, thank you. So in that document, she noted that to quote her, we found the new policy, the one implemented in September 2018, regarding development near wetlands is more permissive than both the 2017 policies and the 20 interim directives, and may be more permissive than the direction set out in the regulation under the Act. It's my recollection that this item was discussed at the full authority meeting in December 2020. Am I correct that at that December 2020 meeting, the board authorized staff to commence the planning and permit policy update?
Chandra? I think Member Kwal, we're getting into some details that I don't believe staff have all available at this time. So I'm wondering, would it be appropriate to give direction to staff to come back with a report with a number of these items?
So that's an easy one. They can provide that after. So I just have one more question, and
okay.
So I do recall that that the board authorized staff in December 2020 to commence the planning and permit policy update. I just wanted validation of that. But my next question is really, it's been 14 months since the Auditor General raised this concern to the board, okay? And nothing has been presented back to this board. I believe there was also a management commitment to bring a policy review by December 2021, but that's never happened. So my last question is, can you tell me when the policy update is going to be presented back to this board?
Mr. Chair,
go ahead. Yep.
Sorry, a couple of things. So yes, there was direction, I believe, in December 2020 from the board to initiate the full policy update. With respect to the Auditor General's updated report in 2020, we did take a report to this board speaking specifically to her comments about the wetland section and its consistency with provincial policy as well as our regulation. I believe that was March, excuse me, March of 2021. So there is already a report to this board on that section. The board may recall that in December, they directed us to provide a progress report this March, so next meeting, on the policy document. And we are working with a consultant on that that report, and we will be presenting a fulsome update to the board in March with a request for further direction for second phase of the project.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair. Those are my questions.
Great, thank you, Member Kwal. So, is there any direction that you're thinking coming out of this, or are you satisfied with that report coming back in March?
No, I wasn't seeking any direction. These were just questions of clarification. So I understood what Ms. Manson was referring to in her correspondence to us when she talked about, you know, a failure that's owned by this board. I was trying to understand what that was about, and I think I have a better understanding now. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Member Johnson.
Thank you very much. And also, we did reply to Ms. Mason about her her concerns and that we would be following up with her as well. So just to let you know that that was responded to. And the second thing is our CAO got bumped out and she's trying to get her way back in. So I just wanted to let everybody know. And I agree, Member Shirt, and I can finally say it out in the open. I can't wait till we get back together again.
Thank you, Member Johnson. Does anybody else have any items within this correspondence they wish to talk about? Seeing none, it has been duly moved and seconded. Is anybody opposed to us accepting this correspondence? I do not see anybody opposed. We have no delegations today. We do have one consent item, and this is report number FAO 222, the Conservation Authority Act Regulatory and Policy Proposals Phase 2, Environmental Registry of Ontario posting. And this is for receipt that we're going to be dealing with. So to put this onto the floor, can I get Member Rapley, could you move that we put this onto the floor for discussion, and could that be seconded by Member Steele? Thank you. Are we still missing our CAO? Looking at the Hollywood squares in front of me here, and I don't see her. Is there any questions on this from any members? Although I would have liked to have Chandra just make any comments on this before we move forward.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to hear that. It's Mel Woodhouse.
Yep.
I'm on a phone, so you probably can't see me, but I think it's important that Chandra address this to the board and give a review of it. So if we could maybe just pass this and move on with the agenda until she's back online.
Okay, yeah, that works. Thank you. Yeah, good suggestion, Member Woodhouse. So we'll just put that one in abeyance. So to the clerk, we're just going to set that motion aside for the moment, and we'll come back to that once we have the CAO back on board. Is that okay with you?
It absolutely makes sense. We may have the same issue though, however, with the discussion item as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's just hold on here for a minute and see if we can get Chandra back on board. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We still have a few minor technical glitches going on, but we have our CAO back again, and we have her on audio, although we can't see her at the moment, but notwithstanding, she's back. Before we get into this discussion in and around this consent item, which has been duly moved and seconded, Member Halinga from Port Colborne wished to make a comment on the earlier items, and unfortunately, I had missed him during that time. Member Halinga, do you wish to make a comment about the earlier items?
Yes, it was regarding the policy review and actually the questionnaire that has gone around for input from board members. And referring back to, I'm going to correct the date, it was the November meeting. I asked for a report on what was presented at that meeting regarding the TRCA's water balance model. And that was to come back in January. We did not have a meeting in January, so I am asking that that come back for our March meeting. I believe it's important enough that we look at it very closely, and in my opinion, it should be part of our policy document. And before we do a full update of the policy document, I would suggest that we have an amendment to the policy document to have it incorporated immediately. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Member Halinga. So to our clerk, Mr. Bivol, can you take that as direction to have that come forward for our March meeting? Oh.
Sorry, I have noted it. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Member Kwal.
Thank you. So Member Halinga just mentioned the survey that has been requested of all board members with respect to the policy document. As I went through that survey, there were two places where the questions actually contradict each other. Has that been corrected in the survey?
Through you, Chair Foster, yes, the survey has been corrected, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Member Kwal. So now we're going to go back to consent item, which was duly moved and seconded concerning the Conservation Authority Act regulatory and policy proposals, phase 2, the Environment Registry of Ontario posting. Chandra, can you make some comments on this, please?
Thank you, Chair Foster. Through you, as you know, NPCA staff have been diligently working on all of the regulatory changes to the Conservation Authority Act. The phase 2 regulations in regards to the implications on budget and levy were released by the province. These were not regulation, it was a guide that is released prior to releasing the regulations. And right now, the guide is on the Environmental Registry for comments. Conservation Ontario is pulling together comments from various conservation authorities, and NPCA has also commented on that. The good news is that overall, NPCA has been undertaking almost a lot of good practices and best practices that the province is trying to execute. I've highlighted all of those in the report. There are a few areas where we will see some changes resulting from these regulations on the process of how voting it carries on the budget items on levy, especially. And NPCA has provided comments to Conservation Ontario to see if that can be changed or reconsidered by the province. The one change that I would like to highlight is that when the budget goes to the Conservation Authority Board for a vote. This is the preliminary budget that staff bring to you. It has two components. It has the levy component and it has the self-generated revenue component. The requirement is now is there's two type of voting that happens on these. So now the province is asking it's mandatory that there is a weighted vote on the levy portion of our budgets before it goes to municipalities for their consideration. And I'm not going to go into details. It's currently in the legislation. However, various conservation authorities have established a consensus-based approach, and one member, one vote works for most of them, and they follow that process. NPCA is not the only conservation authority that follows that process. So that's one change we have to undertake. The other change is we have to come up with a fee schedule that needs to be posted online, and there are some requirements from the province to detail where we can charge a fee and some public consultation requirements. NPCA, as you know, has already proactively started a fee schedule review of our planning fees and park fees, and we are using some industry approved or comparable practices when we charge fees. Once that study is done for the planning, we will be executing that. And currently for the parks, we have already done that. We made some comments to the province to allow some flexibility there for conservation authorities to undertake a range of services for our municipal partners. So that's the other major change. Overall, I don't think any major red flags here. I can take any questions from members if there is any. The details are in the report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, CAO Sharma. Are there any questions at this point? Very thorough report, very thorough discussion. Thank you very much, Chandra. This particular motion has been duly moved and seconded. Is there anyone who opposes us accepting this? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the discussion item, which is report number FA 0322, Conservation Authorities Act, update on inventory of programs and services. So back to you again, CAO Sharma.
Thank you, Chair Foster. Report number FA 03-2022 is our last commitment or requirement as part of the regulatory proposals related to Conservation Authorities Act. I will highlight 4 things here. This is our last deliverable. As I said, we have to submit a list of programs and services to the ministry and post it online for public consumption by February 28th, by the end of this month, after the board approves it. It will also be circulated to our municipal partners, and these are participating municipality where the funding comes from. For NPCA, it will be Niagara Region, Hamilton, and Haldimand. After the submission of this inventory, the discussions with municipal partners will begin, and this inventory can be updated based on those discussions, and the final program and services inventory along with our memorandum of understanding and service level agreements need to be submitted to the province by the end of the transition period, which is the end of 2023 or 2024. And these, the list of programs and services will then be used to set future budgets and future agreements with municipalities. We have considered quite a few things based on the legislation on how we derived on the list of program services as elaborated in the report. We have made sure that the list we produce is consistent with our strategic plan, board direction, and also the regulation that has come out recently in regards to Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3 services for conservation authorities. Category 1 is mandatory program. Category 2 is municipal programs, where a municipality may ask the Conservation Authority to provide a service to them for which they will pay. And Category 3 are other programs and services that the board determines within the broader umbrella of watershed management that the Conservation Authority can undertake. This category also includes all the park operations and other self-generated revenue related activities. Under Category 3, you can also include levy, where you want to apportion the levy for a certain program across all your municipalities. So what we've done here is produced a list for you that is attached to this report. We've made sure that we follow the spirit of or the principles highlighted in this report, which include that we follow the 2022 budgets, we remain consistent to remove any future disruptions for this year's services. We align our existing programs with the approved municipal levy. We ensure that all of the gaps identified in our strategic plan, as well as the new requirement through the Conservation Authority Act, are covered, and we respect the already approved budgets for this year. On this list, you'll find our overall analysis based on the programs and services list that we have produced, highlights that 70% of NPCA programs and services do fall within that mandatory category, where we will not require an MOU or service level agreement with municipalities. It will be part of the general levy process. 28% of our activities fall under that Category 3 service, where mostly programs that are being funded through self-generated revenues are falling, and some programs where we may need cost apportionment agreement with our municipalities. Just like a good example for that will be restoration program. Under Category 2, we have 2% of services where we have existing MOUs with City of Hamilton and Haldimand for natural heritage reviews and stormwater reviews, and those agreements will need to be revisited and approved. So I think we are pretty much consistent with the Conservation Authority Act. With this, we have a lot of work to do now on service level agreements and a memorandum of understanding. And I just want to close by thanking the NPCA staff team, our directors, our management team, staff from finance for their extensive work in preparing this. This looks like a 6 or 8 or whatever page list from surface, but there's a lot of work and analysis and critical thinking that has gone into this work, and I'm really thankful of NPCA team for coming together and producing that in a very short amount of time. As I said in the financial section of this report, we are all doing it extra work as part of our regular workday. However, as we go forward, there are some resource requirements, and we're trying to make sure we find internal efficiencies, and there'll be municipal discussions going forward in 2023. Thanks a lot, and I can take any questions related to this.
Okay, thank you very much, Chandra. As you have noted, excellent report, as well as a very good summary on your part for us this morning. So are there any questions to this particular report? Member Kwal.
Thank you. So I think what I heard from you, Chandra, is that the regulation requires you to post this to the website and then start consultation with the municipalities. In Niagara's case, does that require you to consult with the lower tier municipalities or just the region of Niagara?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Foster.
Yep.
Yes, there is an opportunity to consult with lower tier. However, as we know, lower tier municipalities and their funding does not fall in Category 1 mandatory services. Those are the MOUs and service level agreements under Category 2, where a municipality, a lower tier municipality, wants NPCA to undertake some technical work, sub-watershed planning, reviews, stormwater review, natural heritage review, whatever that may be.
Okay, so that's optional. So that's not a requirement that you have to go consult with them. Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to be clear. I didn't want to the regulation to then impose a whole burden of consultation for another layer of the governance structure. Thank you. So.
No, it's optional, but it's also an opportunity, and many conservation authority have existing service level agreements with their lower tier municipalities. NPCA does not, so I think this sets us on the right path to do that work, and we will be doing that work.
Yep. Thank you. Anything else, Member Kwal? Nope. Anyone else have any questions to this report?
I do. Excuse me, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Member Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In terms of the resources that are going to be required, could you identify what those would be and the estimated ongoing costs associated with it, if any?
Chandra, do you want to take that one, or Lise? Do you? It's up to you guys.
I can take that one.
Okay.
Through you, Chair Foster. The transition work, and if I get the question right, the question is for transition planning, Member Woodhouse, just for clarity, to do all this work?
Okay, so because it says here provisions additional resources will be required to complete the transition. So it's purely that. There's no need for expansion of staffing, et cetera, right?
Okay, so now that I get the question right, so on page 4 of the report, you will see some transition requirements that need to be completed by 2024 or around that time. And the list has ice management plan, operation plans for natural hazard infrastructure, conservation area strategy, which includes an inventory of all of the conservation area, a watershed-based resource management strategy, and some climate change resilience work. These are the things that are currently not part of NPCA's regular activities. So we are gearing up to see how we can deliver those in future, or by the ones that are due by the end of the transition timelines by 2024. I do not anticipate any new staff hirings beyond what you have already approved. So we are working with that. And in 2023, yes, we will be putting forward some request for staffing and resources to complete whatever is left of this list. We're also looking internally where we can find the money and resources to start this work, which we've already started, basically.
Okay, then, Mr. Chairman, based on that and the fact that there's obviously much that needs to be done here, and there's going to be an impact, maybe through the Finance Committee, this can be raised as a staff report coming back to as this unfolds, and there's better clarity in terms of what this all will mean, as a suggestion.
Okay. To CAO Sharma, does that work as direction to staff?
Absolutely. We had planned to bring this back to the Finance Committee and work with them with regular updates and discussions under their direction. So this will go back to that. So that's a great suggestion. We will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Thank you, Member Woodhouse. Anything else you wish to bring up? Is that it? I'm guessing yes.
For me, yes. Oh, that was it.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else have any commentary or questions to this report? Seeing none, it has been, have we moved and seconded this grant?
You have not.
Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder for this. I apologize. We should move and second it before we start discussing things. So moved by Member Shurton, seconded by Member Wright. Is there anyone opposed to us accepting this report? Seeing none. There's no committee reports this month, and there's no motions that are being brought forward. Are there any notices of motion that anyone wishes to bring forward? Okay. Under new business, I will provide just a quick update on the foundation and hopefully aided by Chandra, but Member McKenzie has an item of new business he'd like to start with. So go ahead, Member McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair Foster. Just wanted to mention to the board that in today's St. Catherine Standard, there's a article on the strategy for trails in the city of Welland.
This is on, but it won't show.
This is going to require a $18.5 million investment over 20 years. And this is an exciting project for the city of Welland. And parallel to that, the town of Grimsby is undergoing a trails master plan now. And I would like to thank Adam Christie, our Director of Land Operations, for his assistance to the town in this work. And as most of you may know, our Beamer Memorial Conservation Area at the pinnacle of the Niagara Escarpment, right above downtown Grimsby, is an important intersection for trails and future trails in the town of Grimsby. So I think it will be playing a crucial role in the development of trails in Grimsby. And Adam, thank you for your support in this. Thank you, Chair Foster.
Yes, thank you, Member McKenzie. This goes hand in hand with work that's been done across other municipalities as well. I know Town of Lincoln has a Trails Master Plan we put together. I was involved with that back, 12, 13 years ago. So it's good to see that we're going to be having this right in and across Niagara. A very good move forward. Anybody else have any new business they wish to bring up? Member Hewson.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a couple of things. The first item I actually came about because I'm on Pelham's Active Transportation Committee, and they're very interested in having trails in Pelham marked on the All Trails site, which is like a free website where people can access information on trails. So to continue the conversation on trails, I'm wondering do we have a policy in terms of putting our assets, our trail assets on a site like this, and do we have perhaps staff who could look at this and perhaps add some of our resources to that site?
So CAO Sharma.
Thank you, Chair Foster, through you. I can always certainly take that back and get back to Member Hewson.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Maybe I'll just follow up with an email. And then the second thing I kind of wanted to bring up is we're seeing a lot of language around quite a rapid reopening, and in terms of the pandemic, and I think this will probably affect our workplace and our work environment. So I'm wondering, is there a way to make sure that, by the time we have another board meeting, there could be a whole slew of restrictions that are dropped, which would impact staffing and human resources? Is there a way that we can keep the board informed as this develops? Because I think it's going to move quite quickly.
I'm going to come back to you on that one to start, Member Hewson, and I think that's a great idea. We'll we'll make sure that that gets funneled out. CAO Sharma, I know there's going to be a lot of challenges for you as we go through the quote unquote reopening. So I put it back to you we'll have discussions on keeping everyone informed.
Absolutely, and I can tell you through Chair Foster, through you to Member Houston, that NPCA is very, very prepared for this. Our policies in place. We've just finished our last policy. It's going through consultations on flex work, and it has received extensive consultation. We are getting ready for that day. Staff tentatively know that in some form of hybrid fashion, we may need to come back in spring or around that time. We have our vaccination proof and policies in place, so that work has been completed through our human resources team. We're feeling pretty confident that we are in a pretty good place to return to work in a hybrid fashion with policies. Staff are aware of that. I'm not seeing any issues. However, you never know until it hits you. So we intend to bring some reporting to the governance committee prior to returning staff back. And the governance committee is coming up in a month's time, I believe. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Third Chair, I've lost my video all of a sudden, but it's Bill Rapley. I just want to tell you that in Niagara on the lake, it's been, very difficult with what we've been going through the last few years, but the staff of the NPCA and the staff of the town are getting together quarterly, and they're working on issues like the outlet pond. We have a lot of work that I've been able to work with Brett Ruck and on the 4 Mile Creek. I've been added to the Environmental Advisory Committee as a voting member now. We're working on a climate plan for an action for the town. And we have a lot of very good projects there, including what areas need to be forested, what plantings we should go after. And we're working with Gary Royer and Chandra on looking into funding and other aspects. So it has been a real struggle doing everything online, but we are still having some very good things that go on. We're very interested in the Shoreline Park, which involves Parks Canada and the town and the NPCA with all the streams running into it. And we're interested in the restoration of the sewage lagoon and trying to have much more hiking and nature areas there. So without meeting in person, it has been a very struggle, but I thought I should make those comments so you're aware that, some things are happening, and NOTL is moving along quite nicely in many respects, despite all the obstacles right now.
Thank you very much, Member Rapley. Member Houston, were you finished with your commentary? Yeah.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Member Shurton. We can't hear you, Rob.
Yes, that kind of actually starts why I want to rant a little bit here. So I'm hopeful, as Member Houston mentioned, that maybe we can hopefully be in person at our next meeting. Also, I just want to give you an update. Member Metcalf and I met with our CEO, and I guess it's our understanding, and maybe our CEO Chandra can give us a bit of more clarity. My thoughts in our Haldimans is that we need to get together with the other two funding members to decide on the composition of this board. Personally, I was on it last term with a much less number. I think we're top heavy, compared to the staff that we have, percentage-wise, we're about 50-50, which is, well, not quite 50-50, but anyways, I'm hopeful that a decision will be resolved and they will be able to come up with a collective decision and start 223 with less members.
Thank you, Member Shurton. So for the two items you brought up there, number one, as far as meeting in person goes, if we are into a situation where we're allowed to, we certainly shall be meeting in person. So that's the first item. The second one is in and around composition of the board, and that's very high on my priority list to get resolved. I totally agree with you that. And this also comes from discussions I've had with Member Johnson. I know you've mentioned things as well, and I've had discussions at Niagara Region as well. So I think we're in a good spot to push those issues and try and get this resolved before we hit the summertime this year. So, okay. Any other new business this morning?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Mel?
Yeah, please go ahead, Mel.
Thank you. I just wanted staff to be aware and the board to be aware of a situation that's happened here in Thorold. There's a small piece of property on the corner of Richmond Street and DeQ Road, and it's affectionately known as the Frog Pond. And back in the 70s, or 90s, it was negotiated with the developer of the West Community that would be a conservation area, as well as a 8-acre Carolinian forest, actually the last Carolinian property forest in the urban areas, Thorold. And so that development was agreed to back then. Unfortunately, there was a lot of ash trees in there in that area that had died back, and I guess it was decided by some people that that had to be resolved. And I had contacted the city about this when I saw the silt barriers going up around and including that property, not excluding it from the development. And I was assured that it would be acknowledged and taken care of. I was away out of the country for a bit. I came back, and the whole area has been bulldozed. So it's a local issue right now that's drawing a lot of attention. And there's chorus frogs in there, and of course there's some rare salamanders that used to use that as a home. So it's right before Thorold Council now, and I guess there's an internal review of what's going on, and I just wanted the board to be aware of the fact that this had happened. So if you do hear anything from people such as Carla Carlson and others who are involved in this now, who are actually involved in the original plans and agreement, you'll know what that's about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Woodhouse. Good heads up on Carla. I know her very well. We were on council together here in Lincoln for a term, so so thank you for that heads up. Member Cridlin.
Thank you, Chair Foster. I would be remiss if I didn't do a shout out for applications for the Wainfleet Bog Advisory Committee. They are now open till February 28th, and you don't have to be from Wainfleet to apply. So hopefully the public is going to be applying to that committee soon. Thank you.
So you don't want to get too bogged down on that, is what you're saying. That's it. It's all right. Bad pun. End of meeting. The foundation, just a quick update for everyone, and this will probably be the last time I update. It'll usually be another member, Donna, that's going to be updating on the foundation. But so we're busy with the foundation into a variety of fundraising efforts. We have reached out, and we are dealing with Armstrong Communications out of St. Catharines. We have a solution that's being put in place to put together a comprehensive fundraising initiative, and put it this way, it was very well received by the foundation board, this particular initiative. So, and we'll be bringing back more information. Unfortunately, Chair Encina was not able to make the meeting this morning, but my expectation is he'll be in for a full update at our next board meeting. I'm on the I'm the chief fundraiser for the Balls Falls upgrade that we're looking at doing. We have monies in the bank in order to start the process there. As you guys know, it's essentially a center to introduce people to the Balls Falls area, to have information available to you, to give some of the history. And so a variety of these things, it's just aged. So what's happening is there's a phase one that's going through and doing a general cleanup. And then we're going to be looking at a much broader initiative, and that will be coming back. The NPCA board will be brought into the equation with that later on this year as the secondary phase of this starts getting looked at. So. And I think that's it. Donna, is there anything else from the board that from the foundation?
Thank you, Chair Foster. Just again, continuing now that we're at another cycle, there is room for adding board members. Again, through outreach, if you happen to be aware of people that might be interested in doing this last term with us, we would certainly invite any applications. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd be looking to our friends in Haldeman and our friends in Hamilton. If there's people that you think may be appropriate to be bringing on to the foundation board, think about it. You know, the foundation covers the entire watershed. It does not cover just Niagara per se. So it would be really good to get some additional representation from other areas as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Chairman, to interrupt. I just wanted something, you know, in terms of clarity, in terms of whether a member of this board would resign. What would be the process for that to happen? That I would assume this board would have to accept it, and I'm assuming as well that it would go to the replacement would go to the area in which that person had been appointed. Could somebody explain the process we would do in the event that that would happen?
Well, somewhat coincidentally, we just had a resignation, so that is very good timing on your part. And I see Member Johnson wishes to speak to this. I saw your hand up there.
Thank you very much. So Member Kuhn-Peterson handed in her resignation last month, and we directed her to hand in that resignation to the municipality in which appointed her. And then we receive that resignation as well. And it's up to that municipality to reappoint someone in their stead. So it can be a quick turnaround or a slow turnaround depending on the municipality and the responsiveness.
And if I can also add to that, yeah, and if I can also add to that, that did come forward to Regional Council last evening. And the decision of Regional Council based on the report was that there won't be recommendations on filling that position at this current time, simply because of the timing. We're now into the last number of months of this particular term.
So if I could, Mr. Chairman, then there is no obligation or responsibility on behalf of this board of receiving that resignation other than just to receive it and forward it on to the appropriate body that made the appointment in the first place. We don't have to pass a motion of acceptance then, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just also to let you know, Niagara Region also made a decision last evening that former member Bausma is not to be representing the region on any boards. That was passed last evening, so Member Baus will not be returning to this this board as well. Okay, there we go. With that, I want to thank everybody for the meeting. Brenda, you know, go and do your happy dance, and you know, we'll go from there. And with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Can I have Chandra, John, Metcalf, Gina, and Grant just stay online afterwards for a few minutes? Otherwise, have a great day, guys.
Great job today, Rob.
Everybody. Thank you. Thank you.